I like click subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Silver Skates. On the frozen rivers and canals of St. Petersburg, a petty thief on skates warms the heart of an aristocrat's daughter as forces try to keep them apart. So this movie came out in 2020. It's about 2 hours and 17 minutes long. Spoiler alert, let's get it. So we start off with Matt. He used to do delivery for a bakery company. He tried to make one delivery, but the police officers were blocking him on the road because a carriage of royalty was rolling past. And who happened to be in this carriage precisely? A lady by the name of Alice. I guess she's like a princess, and then you have the father, the Duke, and his wife, Eleanor. Now the conversation around the table is about Alice wanting to go to school for higher learning, but her father highly disapproves of that. He's under the mentality that women becoming free thinkers will bring destruction to the country. Keep in mind, they're in Russia, and this is the year 1900. Back at the bakery, Matt's getting scolded because he didn't get his delivery there on time. He's like, motherfucker, the police stopped me. I couldn't go through the bridge. And because of that, he ends up getting fired. And on top of that, he doesn't get paid for his last 2 weeks, and they kick him out. Disrespectful ass niggas. Alice has been studying books on chemistry and science behind her father's back. And her maid friend, a homegirl looking out for her. She talks to her about simple things about getting betrothed to the ones that she loves and all sort of stuff. Meanwhile, Matt's gotta find himself another job. He ends up bumping into this guy who dropped a gold watch. He tries to give it back to him, who we find out his name is McClave. Matt tells McClave he lost his job. McClave tells him meet him at this spot, and he's got a job for him. And here we have Matt's dad. His job is setting up candles and light posts. But around this time, something new was invented. It was called electricity. Yeah, it was a new thing back then. So basically, his father gave him these magical skates that they passed down from generation to generation. I mean, they're not really magical, but his father believes they are. He's a very eccentric man. Anyway, Eleanor and Duke will talk about values and what could really prosper in the kingdom. Meanwhile, the maid catches Alice doing alchemy experiments. So while Alice is reading the newspaper, the maid is looking through a random mirror trying to find her one true love. Bitch, who you think you are, Snow White? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of the wall, having ass. Anyway, Matt's about to beat up with McClave at the spot, and he's with his band of brothers, they rolling for a date. So he takes Matt on a test run. He wants him to try to steal something from the house of royalty. So he sneaks up to the top of the room. It just happens to be Alice's room. And the first thing she happens to do is accidentally put his arm on fire. What the fuck? He's not even feeling the burn though. And there's a reason for this, they explain. There's an element mixed in the fire where it's supposed to be a cold fire for at least the first 10 seconds, and then it starts to heat up. I failed science class, so I'm not the best to explain this shit. But anyway, that was Matt's first encounter with Alice. Hilarious. Next morning, she wakes up and her nose starts itching. And the maid tells her, if you're thinking about your true love, that's when your nose starts itching. I'm like, really? This is coming from somebody who just looks in the mirror and waits for a true love to pop up, right? And now we have a council meeting. This guy right here goes by the name of Arclave. Now he runs the police division, part of it. But somewhere down the line, he's gonna be asking for Alice's hand in marriage. And he's getting real close to the Duke, so he's got a good chance of making that happen. Then they start talking about weapons they could use. They talk about these batons, because these pickpocketed skaters are out of control. They say they're dangerous to society, but all they want to do is live. They ain't trying to kill nobody. Now McClave knows Matt's an excellent skater, but he needs to find the ways of pickpocketing. So he teaches him, gets some training, and he gets a hell of a lot better. His dad's been trying to figure out where he's been going. He's like, yeah, I got me another job. He's like, all right, son, so what do you do? He tells him he's in a partnership with economic trades. Yeah, sure. That's like saying if you're doing credit card scams and I was like, yeah, I'm involved in business management. For one, he ain't want to get his father upset, and two, he found out that he's getting sick. So now more than ever, he really needs to pickpocket so he can save his dad's life. And now for the grand ball. Arclave and his mom and their attendants. Every time I see the bells moving like this, I always think of like Home Alone or Batman for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, I think of like Home Alone or Batman Returns for some reason. Don't mind me, my brain be out there sometimes. Anyway, he wants to take his daughter out on a date and he approves. Getting in good with their family graces. It's getting to the point that Matt's dad is real sick, so he takes him to the doctors. He says he feels fine and the doctor says he feels fine. But he pulls Matt to the side real quick one-on-one. He tells him the reason why his dad is coughing up so much blood is because he's got a strong case of tuberculosis. And they don't have the tools to fix him here. There's only one doctor by the name of Slack, but he's far too expensive for him. And even if you get him, there's a 50-50 chance he can cure it. So now more than ever, his mission is to get enough money so he can save his dad. So after they make a killing on the streets, McClave takes him to the real spot. Them niggas live in an old abandoned pirate ship. And they got hella loot. And for one of the people, they ended up snagging 2 tickets to the grand ball. And of course, McClave and Matt are gonna go, but he's gotta get a makeover. You can't go in there looking like you're from the streets. You gotta get the cover up. And now they ready to blend in with the higher class. Now McClave never laughs, so listen to the way he quote unquote blends in with his society. He's like, nobody really knows nobody like that. The trick is to act pompous and look like you stand in, you know what I mean, in the crowd. And then they go to work ready to thieve niggas. They're getting nice gold watches and everything. And then this well-respected general makes a speech. I cannot remember his name. Let's just say the Duke looks up to him, so he's very important. Alice and company and attendants. And then they have Arclave doing a skating spectacular. The spotlight got a shine on old Beauty and the Beast Gaston looking ass. Meanwhile, niggas doing the pickpockets, but there's our man catching on. It looks like he sees them, but trust me, he doesn't really see them. One thing's for damn sure, nobody else saw him. So Alice gets to skating with Arclave, and she think he cool, but she not really feeling him like that. As she skates off for a minute, she runs into Matt again. She finds out he's been pickpocketing, so she's gonna blackmail him, but she wants to go somewhere with him. But on the low, she kinda feeling him. This nigga McClave just having his drinks, doing what the fuck he do. But now the higher ups are expecting shit, so they gotta get the fuck out of there. They make their getaway. They tell the guards to don't let anybody out. There's a dog loose or some crap like that. He's like, man, I see you looking at the princess. Hey, don't forget where you came from. Back at the ship, they celebrating. They got mad jewels. Then on the other side of the ship is a bunch of niggas. They be rolling deep. They partying, about to get it in. Matt finally comes home. His father like, hey man, where you been at? Then he drops a shitload of money for his dad. His dad's like, man, what you been out there doing? You being dishonest, you gotta take it back. And then this conversation where they talking about God and him not believing in it. Or else they wouldn't have treated us like this. He pushes his boy down. And you know, he wants him to do things honestly. He don't want him to get in trouble. But considering what happened to him, you could tell honesty hasn't been getting him nowhere. And he really just wants his dad to live. So you kind of understand both plights, you know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, you got the guards practicing, ready to catch some skaters. Starting tomorrow, they gonna be out there to catch niggas. Matt stayed with the crew for the night after a bunch of partying, and they like, we gotta get back to business, back to work. Get yourself washed up, and now it's back to business. Matt goes back to the doctor to give him half the money. He tells him he's gonna have the other half as soon as possible. The doctor tells him, man, you gotta hurry up. He don't have much time. So he gives the money to the nurse so he can have it sent to Dr. Tyslef. Meanwhile, Alice is pretending to be sick so she can meet up with Matt later on. Matt waiting on his boo, and now her maid is going to take her place in bed. Like, they can't tell the difference between her and Alice. Like, really? She sneaks out the palace, and they meet up. So her plan was to have Matt take her to the school of higher learning, and he also has to pretend to be her husband. So he gets her to the class, and the person teaching the class is Dmitry Mendeleev, my bad. So Dmitry in real life is actually a Russian scientist back in the 1900s. He was the guy that created the periodic timetable and periodic law. Trust me, I did my research, and if you want to learn about it, look him up. Of course, the guy in the middle gotta be hating. So he asks her, did her father approve of this? Then she says, yeah, I even got my husband. And she brings in Matt. Everything was going good until they asked him to sign some paperwork. Now, because she didn't warn him ahead of time and he has no idea what he's supposed to be signing, they get busted. She's frustrated, but again, he comes from an era where he's never learned how to read and write. Then they learn more about each other, give each other their backstories, talked about how many slaves their grandparents owned, and that his father was one of them. It's a classic story of two people coming from totally different backgrounds. So he makes sure everything's good. She's like, you better meet me up with me again. Then he asks her on a date. She's like, absolutely. Yeah, we know you got game, son. I don't know why, every time I see him in that getup, I think of the movie Anastasia. I mean, the movie was a cartoon. It took place in the snow. I think that movie also took place in Russia, too. This might be the live adaptation of Anastasia. Well, anyway, it's her father's birthday, and he gets a car. Trust me, it was a new thing back then. Only 3 people in the world had it. Look at that. Serious business. And her mom got her a cage. I thought it was a bird in there or something, but a second glance, I'm like, yo, it's nothing in there. Yeah, that'll make her feel better since she's already feeling trapped anyway. I mean, she can't go to school to get an education. About to be forced to marry somebody she don't love. Yeah, sure, just give her a cage. Symbolism, nigga. So her father was to give her a ride around town, but she's like, yeah, I'm still feeling sick. Basically, she ain't trying to go nowhere. But who shows up at that window later on? Matt, of course, and he's got a grappling hook. He takes her out a night at a town. It really teaches her how to skate. They skated to the bridge, and honestly, the bridge shots are awesome. Like, you'd have to see it for yourself. It's like a whole area where they just skate and sell stuff. And trust me, it's a long market. Well, anyway, at this circus, he ends up running into McClave and his boo. He's like, fuck that, y'all coming to the pirate ship, or what they call the Ice Valley. And Grady starts talking ice politics with Alice. Of course, you gotta have one nigga slick talking about Alice just because she's upper class. Niggas like, really, dude? So you know Matt gotta defend his girl. So you know they had a little beef, he's defended her honor. And then McClave comes in and break it up like, alright, that's enough, nigga. Then afterwards, he gets it back safe and sound. But not before getting the smooching. So now back to a typical day of looting. McClave feels like something's off today. Because in the shadows, Arclay is checking out the scene. Nah, my nigga, don't do it. He got caught by the man. Should've known it was a setup. He was acting too drunk, too loose with his money. And he got caught in the chain. And then here come the squad. Matt to the rescue. And he flips and uses his ski blade to cut the chain. His nigga free, you gotta get the fuck out of there. Look how these niggas escaped. They pulled the fucking sign down. Really? Now that big ass sign was pulled down by Christmas wreaths. You know what type of material Christmas wreath is? And it pulled down metal. Okay, sure, let's run with that. Anyway, he thought he was safe for a minute, but then Arclay comes out of nowhere. He almost gets caught and get burnt the fuck up. And right when he catches him, McClay comes out of nowhere and shoots Arclay in the knee and goes about his business. Just casually skated by and shit. So obviously Arclay is pissed off, but he's still good enough to meet up with Alice. Now they go to this gathering and talk about the sciences and fires of his experiments. Alright, this gets me kinda confused. He says their soul should be at 1 if he doesn't get burnt by the fire. So he comes out with the flames on his hands, not feeling a thing, but so does Alice. And everybody all thought it was magic, but it was really all science. Mom's like, what the fuck? And the Duke is pissed off that her daughter found some way to explain it, indicating that she's been studying up on things that her dad didn't want her to. So he goes to her room and burns all her books based on science. Now somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they had a library within that same building. So if you had library books based on this sort of thing, and you didn't want your daughter learning about it, why the fuck even have those books in the house to begin with? You see where I'm getting at here? Because technically it's like her father's domain, you know what I mean? Or maybe I'm wrong and she got those books from the outskirts of town. Yeah. So not only that, but he ends up firing the maid. And then we got some more sad news. When Matt comes home, he gets a letter from the doctor, and come to find out his father did pass away. He burns a light over his grave, symbolism and all that. Because you know his father's last job was working with candlelights. Meanwhile, Alice is distraught about not being able to learn science. They're pushing a date up for her to marry Arclay. Yeah. Pushing a date for her to marry Arclave, and her teacher gives her one last lesson. Says strive to be whoever you want to be, regardless of how anybody feels about it. Then Matt splits all the money that he had with his partners, because the whole point was doing it for his dad, but since his dad is gone, he's like, fuck it. Meanwhile, Alice is trying to run away from home, and she ends up stealing her dad's car, so she could bust through the padded lock in the gate, and of course she comes to see Matt. She ends up taking a bunch of jewelry and cash from the palace to give to Matt for her dad, but obviously she don't know the situation about his dad. They talk some more in the room, and then it's time. Y'all know what time it is. Time for her to get the business, which he properly did. Then all of a sudden we got guards outside the gate. Who the hell snitched? They got torches, they ready to burn down shit. This nigga snitched. The thing is, they were just looking for the hideout. They don't even know that Alice is there. That's why they said, fuck it, we about to burn this bitch down. So Matt wants her to get on the other side, he's trying to save his girl. But then this nigga McClave pushes Matt over the other side, like what the fuck? So now he's got the gun on Alice. What is he planning on doing? So he goes to the guards that basically uses her as a bargaining chip. He said, let my niggas go, and you can have Alice back. He's like, well, how the hell can I trust y'all? Tells about he gives them his word as an officer. Now that we're thinking to ourselves, his word ain't gonna mean shit. Especially since his whole purpose is trying to catch these niggas. So they let his boys go, he gives them Alice, and he gives them the word to chase them down anyway. You knew he wasn't gonna keep his word, but yeah, he really did know that. But it's like, what choice did he really have? And then he started crying, I was like, oh, he's about to do some heroic shit. So he gives them time for Matt to escape, and then McClave busts a shot in the air. Look at that background, that's fucking awesome, I ain't gonna front. And of course that triggers them niggas to shoot. Direct hit. McClave done deal, dead as shit. Matt survives, but I'm pretty sure he's got hypothermia. He gets Alice back, apologizes to the king for him and all this other stuff. And the Duke is gonna move the marriage date up to tomorrow. They get him to the doctors, they try to do everything to keep him alive, but he's fucking blue. Next morning, he's pronounced dead. I'm like, oh shit. Alice is suffering because she's trapped and she also thinks Matt is dead and everybody else for that matter. Then in the flashback, he sees his father as a younger man. And right after blue out of nowhere, this nigga wakes up. What the fuck? He came back to life and the doctor doesn't know how he did it. Now the plan is to sneak in, get his boo, and get him up out of there. So the money that she gave him, he used to get 2 plane tickets to Paris. 2 train tickets, I mean. So they're about to get married, huh? This is basically like the celebration before the wedding. The whole time she's just pretty depressed about everything. Then she sees a guy dressed up as a waiter, removes his mask, and it's Matt. Exactly. She's like, what the fuck? How the hell are you still alive? He tells her about the train tickets to Paris, because Paris is a spot where she can freely learn about sciences and equipment and stuff like that. Women get a free shot over there. So basically they sneak her out while her father's making a toast. Time for y'all niggas to get ghosts. But Arclave is on your trail, you better hurry up. They make it to the train station, but one of the tickets fell out their pockets. And of course Arclave having to pick the other one up. And now he sees a one-on-one following, it's time for the beef. And the beef is happening. He caught him slipping, picked up the ticket and started running. And he makes it on just in time. But Arclave shoots one single shot and it hits him in his chest. Damn it, you can't die again. But guess what saved him is the old school skates. The bullet hit the skate. He's lucky as fuck. You better believe in God or magic or something. The funny thing is, had Arclay never picked up the ticket, both of them would have never made it on the train. But then again, he probably wouldn't have knew it was train intercept. 4 years later, the Duke and Dimitri have a conversation, and she finds out her daughter's actually at the top of the class. The first woman scientist ever to discover some type of random alchemy. It has something to do with green flames. Like I said, I sucked at science. And she's out here teaching classes, and her and Matt got a son, taught him how to skate, and everything's happy. And there you have it. Wow, that was an adventure. So Dmitri Mendele is the only person I know that's legit to this story. I'm not sure about anybody else. But he's actually a real person. Silver Skates on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You know what time it is. Click these, y'all. Easy, mister. Big. You got that slogan.